as is the nature of my job, I have a number of companies that go into business in the hope of making money out of advertising, then come visit with me. And I have a kind of a filtering system that sort of thinks, oh, that's ridiculous, I don't think I'll see them, and then obviously they go on and become incredibly successful. But I see a lot of companies, so my estimation is that of every 100 companies that come to see me and my immediate colleagues, 85 of them will never make any money out of their idea for themselves or for their investors, often they're angel investors or Series A investors. That 10 of them will make some money for themselves and their investors will get their money back, and maybe at a slight premium to the money they put in. 4 of them may make a significant amount of money for both themselves and their investors, and 1 of them will have anything remotely like a meaningful impact on the advertising industry. And my observation is that if you took Google, Facebook, Yahoo, MSN, and AOL out of the total revenue extraction from digital media since its inception, it would be a small number indeed that we were talking about. And so it's very, very hard to succeed. So
that's interesting. Do you think that digital advertising is an oligopolistic market right now? I mean, really, are there, is it worth doubling down? I mean, should you just work to be bought? Or is there really runway and space to build outside of the 4 you just mentioned?
So there's 3 reasons to build a business, assuming the 4th is altruism. So let's say there's 3 reasons.
And we just kick that to the curb, right?
Yeah, right. I think for the purpose of the argument, we can kick that to the curb. That's why the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation exists and all that. So there's 3 reasons why you would do it commercially. One is because you think that you're going to create a business that will generate sufficient gross margin and profit extraction to employ yourself, other people, and be a continuing enterprise. That's kind of a good thing. I like that. And I think that's a kind of neat way to value a business. The other is if you believe there is a possibility you will somehow do that so well, you will exit to public markets, which is immensely hard. And I don't think the 85-10-4-1 rule gets remotely close to the startup to IPO ratio. And the third, of course, is to identify either by design or more often by accident that you have created something that might be on a fault line of a very established business and therefore lead to you being acquired. There's little versions of that that are now commonly called acqui-hires, and there are big versions of that which are less commonly called Instagram. And the reason why I mention Instagram in that context, and I mean, I don't know, I'm a very, very, very small shareholder in Facebook, so I declare my interest, but my own view is that the reason why Instagram had the stock value that it did for Facebook was that Facebook realized that the power of sharing photographs was absolutely central to the social media experience and to the survivability of the platform at scale. And so to take 0.75% of your market value and nail that to the ground in one go seemed like a pretty sensible transaction. And the same could be true of YouTube. Eric Schmidt said to my boss, actually soon after he bought YouTube, my boss said to him, "Did you really just spend $1.6 billion on that?" And Eric Schmidt said, yes, we did, technically. And he said, "What do you mean by technically?" He said, "Well, our stock price went up by more than $1.6 billion within 2 days of us buying YouTube. So actually it didn't cost us anything. And the fact that it doesn't have a revenue model right now isn't really material because we will use the data that emerges in the video market to make it serious." And so that was, you know, 1 to Eric and none to us.
What is this? what does this mean for how your job sort of leadership and how your organization is operationally dealing with the challenges of this dynamic and changing environment? I mean, what is different and harder and perhaps even easier about what you do day to day and your team does?
Okay, we'll skip over the easier part because I haven't worked that one out yet. The rest of it, so we operate in 80 countries, we operate with 4 agency brands, we have some pretty expert and interesting subsidiaries in the audience buying space like Xaxis and so forth, and we're developing new things both inside the GroupM organization, the digital part of which, for which I am responsible, and much more widely in WPP, where we, in Kantar, a research arm for example, we own Dynamic Logic, we own Compete, we own AdGuru in the last few days, and this is to say nothing of the businesses we own around the world. So what we are trying to do is to permanently get ahead organizationally and permanently get ahead in the sense of capabilities of the places and things that will influence where advertisers will either allocate, optimize or attribute marketing dollars as we go into the future. And that's the key to it. If you're in the media services business, there's lots of fancy ways of talking about it, but in the middle of it is allocation. Where do I spend it? In what channels, what geographies, where in the portfolio? There's optimization. Once I've decided where to spend it, how do I squeeze the most value out of it I can? And attribution, how do I re-inform the process to tell us what was done? So all the focus in the business is about building those tools and assets. And some people believe, because of the speed at which venture-backed companies grow and other areas, and also the kind of velocity of which new businesses come to the attention of our clients and ourselves, that there's something kind of elementally glacial about the speed at which a business like ours moves. And we have 21,000 people around the world, which is, a lot. But when I think about it, and I've been with the company for a really, really, really long time, the beginning of the second Clinton term, I think. Oh no, what am I saying? The beginning of the second Reagan term, I joined the company. And when I look at how the business has changed in terms of the number of people, the conversation and the way we approach problems and the tools we have to resolve them in the last 36 months, it's extraordinary. And not as extraordinary in the United States where kind of you'd expect it, but it's extraordinary in Thailand, it's extraordinary in Indonesia, it's extraordinary in Colombia, where we have 140 people doing search, digital analytics, and attribution who are native Colombians. So we deal with it by running incredibly fast. And
how do you, I do believe it's a seismic shift, and I think one of the challenging things is that the skill sets, and we talk about this a lot, right, on the agency side of the business, the skill mapping of just, let's talk about focus on media buying, right? From who mans or woman's the trading desk to who's buying television now as it's becoming theoretically more addressable. How's that become approachable?
Well, television is a lot more than theoretically more addressable, by the way. My view is that what we do with Dish and DirecTV now, what we'll be doing with Comcast by the end of the year, I think we'll be in 40 million addressable homes to the set-top box level, and with technology like NVIDIA, where we put our money where our mouth is in GroupM and WPP, we'll be getting member of household level of inference there. Anyway, that wasn't really what the question was, so I apologize. I said a long time ago, sort of as a joke, that the media services industry had become a refuge for liberal arts graduates who were somewhat numerate, and was taking the view that it needed to become a welcome home for math graduates who could write in whole paragraphs. And
what's your undergrad degree?
It was called business studies. Could it just as easily been called loafing in my case? I was really, really, truly not a good student. Attention span issues, that kind of thing. And you're back in the room.
Hi. Hi, Rob.
So one of the great things about investing in our own tech stack at WPP and at GroupM through Xaxis, through our business science unit, and so forth, is that we have places for people that can do math to come to work. As in, there is something that puts them with a cohort of people that also do math and know that math and analytics has a true value, and they're not just surrounded by people who think they are weird. We are increasing our emphasis on hiring people with those backgrounds. It will not be enough to be a moderately interested, significantly unfocused liberal arts graduate to succeed in the media service industry.